Well, one thing's for sure, after reviewing chapter 1 on construction, I'm no professional. I left stuff out that I need to maybe later on add in and rambled a lot. But let's go to chapter 2, your animals, your selection, and hopefully the maintenance. Maybe just the care. Maintenance we'll get later. So here's the ramp you saw in the first part. I have it here. That's why we have those legs, because that's a soft top. They absolutely love it. They walk up the ramp, they splash around. That water is gone the second day. I change it every 2 days and move it around the yard so it doesn't have any flat spots. So now the animals, ducks and chickens. So criteria for selection in my position, being backyard animals. First criteria that I chose was quiet, docile, friendly. The last thing you want to do is upset your neighbors with a loud animal constantly squawking or quacking. There's a chicken over here. So after a lot of research, I wanted to have a variety. I'm not into having one species kind of guy. So I have 2 batches. They're 1 year apart. They're going on 3 years now. So I have 2 black Cayuga ducks. I have 2 runners, fawn runners. I have what are the tip of my tongue? I think the white one is called a Duclair, if I pronounce it correctly. I have 1 hybrid 300. That's the brown one in the back here. And the other 2 Welsh Harlequin. See how they enjoy the pond. So, having said that, integration with chickens. Integration, obviously, if they're chickens or ducks, they get along perfectly. The second batch took a little longer to integrate because I had started with 5, then added another 5. So they take a little longer, but eventually they cohabitate, commingle. Like I said, I like to have a mixed flock of birds. So the latest addition that I have, which is a completely different and unique bird, completely surprising, completely different habits, is the Muscovy or Muscovy duck, however you want to pronounce it. I've always been intrigued by those birds, but I rescued them from appalling conditions. Caged, dirty, filthy, sick animals. So this is the only animal that's not related to a mallard. They're more related to a swan. They make 0 noise, no quacks at all. The males make a hissing noise, the females chirping. They've come a long, long way. They're getting more and more tame. Their feathers are nicely groomed. They were dirty, they were filthy, they were sick. Their feathers were falling out. I mean, they were just worst of the worst. The darker one I got from a much better breeder, just to keep these 2 company, because they were so neglected, so depressed. They're still a little shy. They'll walk away shortly from me, but perseverance, that's the whole nature of the game. Every night when I go inside, I will rest my eye. I started with just resting my arm on them. They were trembling in fear. That's gone away now. Now I hold on to them and I don't let go till they settle down and are quiet. When I release them, they gently walk away. They don't take off in a panic. What you see here is just a bucket for them so they can dunk their heads. Treats. Love watermelon, love cucumbers, love diced tomatoes, love all kinds of stuff. Here's some chickens coming around. So, selection. On chickens, same reason. Researched and I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch of debate on as to whether I'm wrong or not. What I prefer. There are mean breeds out there. I'm sorry. I do not like the Rhode Island Reds. They are mean and nasty. They seem to pick on everybody. This black and white one is the next one, the Silver Lace Wyandotte, I think they call them. That's another one I would never get. White Leghorns that I had, yeah, they're coming all around. Everybody's coming over. White Leghorns, I love them. Even though they have a flighty reputation, they were never that way to me. But there are shortcomings. Shortcomings means they have large combs and wattles. They were very prone to frostbite. So what I did with those research online, I saw people saying put some olive oil in winter. That helps them. That was good for start, but it didn't last. So what I ended up doing is getting coconut oil, melt it. It's a solid state. Melt it and then rub it on their combs and wattles. And then that, when it's cooled down, it's solidified into a waxy substance. And that was the key. So with your selection, like I said, quiet, docile first, tame and friendly. That's number 2. Least on the list of my categories was egg production. That's a bonus, I think, but that wasn't mandatory for me. So now that we have our animals selected, and as you can see, all these guys keep together. The Muscovy ducks are completely different. They just don't mingle. I think I've had them for a month now, and I don't see them mingling. If you saw the roost in the duck house, I put them at night on the roost. They're actually a tree bird, so they really enjoy being up there. One little baby step at a time. I didn't put a ladder in there to freak them out. Ducks are so much different than chickens. They are incredibly weary. They look at everything with suspicion. Anything new, anything different. You have a different pair of jeans. You have a hat on, you don't have a hat on. You have a different color. They are all about routines. If you don't come at a specific time, they'll come to your window, let you know, hey, it's feeding time. If you do something in the yard that's different, you start moving a wheelbarrow they haven't seen, or literally anything in your hand. They're used to the phone now, but the first time I pulled out a phone, it was like, a threat. They're incredibly smart animal. Nobody taught them, it's just an instinct. They can see ducks flying overhead, geese, birds, pigeons, nothing. If you see them tilt their heads up and run under a tree, literally up as high as you can see, barely a speck, and that's a hawk. How do they know that? They were raised on some farm, although I had them shipped to me as 1 day old, but nobody taught them that. They didn't get it from their parents, and yet, compared to a chicken, well, there's no comparison. You can train them, you can herd them, you can, with hand signals, make them turn left, make them turn right. You can call them, they'll come running. There's just, when they look at you, there is a brain in there that's very sophisticated. Now, where are they running? Oh, there you go. My wife's throwing out some feed there, and they come running. Everything they do is they do it together. Nothing is alone. It's a herd animal. If one gets separated and realizes the others are gone, they'll chase them down in a panic. Very inquisitive birds. If the cats are fighting, they'll run to check it out. If there's any other commotion, they come to investigate. Having said that, I try to provide them the best nutrition, the best health I can. And believe me, I went through everything. I went through all kinds of... there's a loner here. He's going to start panicking and running to the rest. You just watch. He's going to go. There he goes. There's the runner. Going to rejoin the others. Run, buddy. Run. So, I've done it all. I've done all the research on the feeds. I've mixed and matched, and I will admit I overdid it. There are so many good feeds out there these days. Choose the one that's got a balanced diet. So I've settled on Nutrena pellets. Crumbles make too much of a waste. It's got all your probiotics, vitamins, calcium, everything. And my Purina, same thing. I just mixed it half and half. This has got some more plant matter, some flowers. So that's the feed that I give them on a daily basis. You have to understand there's feed and there's treats. It's a whole completely different thing. You need to have feed for optimal growth, optimal laying capability, and health. Treats is just like having French fries compared to food. They'll go for the French fries every time, but you literally instantly see diminished egg production, diminished health, diminished vitality. So as a treat, one time a day, I get some oats. Actually, it says no oats. It is, what is this? Premium. Yeah, it is oats. Premium oats, a little bit, half a container. Barley and some other grains here, all natural. And whole grain, meaning whole corn. What I do in that, put a little bit all in the bucket. And then I also give them for protein. I'm almost out mealworms. Buy them bulk online, 30, 40 pounds, whatever you want. It comes dirt cheap. So they get that once a day. In their daily diet, I found really works really well. From Thomas Labs, I give them kelp supplements for all their vitamins, amino acids, nutrients, metals. And brewer's yeast and garlic for their digestion. All you do is just a little scooper, like maybe a quarter scooper, sprinkle it on their feed and give it to the feeder. Of course, they need grit. They need unlimited supply of crushed oyster shells. And as well as I reprocess my eggshells, I collect all the eggshells, put them in the oven, get the moisture out and crush it. You need to be able to crush it so that they don't, chickens especially, recognize that as eggs, and then you have them eating your eggs. So that's their feed regimen. Initially, I gave them an unlimited amount of scratch, and boy did that damage them. They had that scratch. I had it in the trough. I gotta clean up here. I had this in this trough here, and boy did the eggshells were much thinner. They were breaking. Their poops were coating their behinds. It was not an appropriate thing to do. So here we have my grit. First thing they do is eggshells. They love, I mean, they will literally go to the eggshells before they eat the regular feed. That's how much they love the eggshells. On this other side, I have oyster shells. They spill. That's okay. We wash it down. So I combine all these together. I can open these slots here, dump it in, close, we're done. Here's my feeder. It looks like they ate. I don't like to overfill it. I just put one a day so it's always fresh. One scoop, actually 2 scoops in the bucket with the supplements a day. And here I want to show you water. Like I said, ducks are incredibly dirty. You see that? That water is 1-day-old water. That's because the ducks rinse and backwash all the time. I got my brush. I'm gonna do it, part of my daily chores. Rinse it out, clean it out, and have it fresh. I do this daily for them. Now, on the outside, I'll show you, because most of the time they spend outside, I change their water in their buckets sometimes almost 3 times a day, just to give them fresh water. They love fresh water. The moment you give them fresh water, they will get in there. So one thing I did not add in the construction part of the video, I have a little corner scratch dust bath for the chickens they use all the time. I'll probably enclose it somehow this year. And here, work in progress. It's not a greenhouse, it's a tent. It used to be a tent. I had again, it's a learning process and improvement. It was a dark canvas tent. That's for winter. They can come in, get out of the snow, have their feeders in there, and warm up. I had some heater lamps. So initially it was all steel construction. It was much lower. It was up to here. So I'd have to crawl in there and get in there. So I elevated it, put the framing on the steel pipes, put my corrugated roofing. What you will see is eventually barn doors. I'll put the barn doors in front with an opening on the bottom so they can get in. That way I know for sure I won't have to have any additional heat in there. It's gonna be roasting hot in there. I might have to keep even one of the barn doors open. But that's where they're gonna get out of the snow in the winter time. So let's go back. Hey, what you up to? See, that's a Welsh summer chicken. I wouldn't get that breed again. They can be nasty. Chickens have their pecking order, and they can be a little rough. The Araucana Easter-egger, that's my favorite breed. Green eggs. They don't taper off. They lay throughout the year. Like the leghorns are great, but they run out. When they run out, they run out. That's it. Done. So research your breeds. What do you want to do for your area? Here we have the Muscovies again, all doing their thing. And the bucket. See this bucket here, this water? That's the second bucket of the day. The reason the buckets in their yard were so dirty is because they got a lot of dirt access. So they literally take mouthfuls of dirt and slosh it around, where here you've got grass. So that's one bucket there. Like I mentioned, the ramp, you saw that. There's another bucket. And of course you can see the only way you can grow anything is to enclose it. You work, that's another bucket there, grass again. You have to enclose everything you grow, otherwise they'll rip it apart. You work with the animal, not against them. You know what their habits are, what their likes are. And they do love the tomatoes. Anywhere they can stick their heads in through, you can see. They prune everything for me. They prune my cucumbers, same thing. They stick their heads in there. Without this protection, I wouldn't have anything. Where did they go? They hid pretty well. Oh, they're probably munching. Yeah, they're right out there. So, feeding guidelines. Some people give them food once, twice a day. I give them unlimited amount of food. Let them take as much as they want. And then the once a day, the wheat and the mealworms, a little bit treat. In winter, because it gets cold, and that's the main thing, coming back to the heaters. Once I put the heaters in, my feed went down dramatically. Just imagine you're freezing your hiney off all night long. You come out, you need to burn calories. If you have that 8-12 hour of rest in relative warmth and comfort, you don't need those calories. So your feed bill will go down, and in the insulation, your heating bill will go down. There they are. They're all back there in the raspberries. So that's another plug-in for the heater. There you go. Chickens, of course, wouldn't be here in this water, but they don't mind at all. What else can I say? on these guys. Let's see, there they go. Routines. I guess I'll make a video on the routines, on the cleaning inside the coops, the water changes. See a lot of fallen fruit on the ground. They cleaned that up. Hey. Hey. No, they're not paying attention to me. So I think the last chapter will be on maintenance. What you need, how often I clean, how often I do it. Again, a lot of things change over the years for simplicity, but that's going to be the third chapter of this series.